Are you ready to get off the grid with me? Here we go. Now, let's first describe what going off the grid is all about. You see, to go off the grid is to live under the radar of the world. When we say we are living under the radar, ibig sabihin po nito, ito yung time na hindi ka masyadong nararamdaman ng mga tao sa paligid mo. Okay, it's like you are disconnected from the world, na hindi ka masyadong nararamdaman. We know that the world, as we know, it spins so fast. And just like daily, parang we are always running out of time. Hopefully, this afternoon until tomorrow, we will take this opportunity to immerse ourselves together on what really matters, away from the noise, the busyness, and the craziness of the outside world, and just slow down. Sa ating mga nagtatrabaho, parang ang hirap mag-slow down. Right? Parang palagi kailangan may gagawin ka. But for this afternoon until tomorrow, sama-sama tayo. Let's all slow down. It's a moment for us to disconnect from the world and hopefully to reconnect back to ourselves. To reconnect back to ourselves, to our priorities, and to our purpose. You see, going off the grid is to exist outside of human conventions today and to defy what has been the norm, especially if the norm is already adversely affecting our way of life. Especially tayong mga nagtatrabaho. And the norm right now is, paggising mo pa lang sa umaga, tumatala ka na sa social media. Hindi ka pa nakakapanalangin sa umaga, naglalabas ka na ng sama ng loob mo sa mundo. Starting this afternoon until tomorrow, we will keep things in private. Us, together as a community, us, together as a family. Of course, if you wish to post in your socials for our conference, by all means do so. Okay? Gawin po natin yon. Pero, sana hanggang dun lang po muna tayo. No browsing, no scrolling. This is a time for us together to go off the grid. Tayo po muna. Let us make the most of this time to learn, to slow down, to reflect, and to reassess our lives as Christian young professionals. We will break from our routine and go off the grid for a while. But you know what makes it difficult for us to go off the grid? Because it is found in the opposite side of the spectrum. Because again, hindi tayo sanay that we are unheard, that people are not seeing us, and that people are not feeling us, whether it's online. But hey, it's when we go off the grid that we savor our time alone to think things through, alone with ourselves, alone with God. But we are also reminded that in today's human convention, we should be very careful in sharing. Or, if I may say, oversharing and in overexposing our lives. Remember that there's always a danger in oversharing, especially in social media. There are things that must remain private. That's why we are reminded to not overshare and to not overexpose ourselves. Especially, hindi naman po lahat ng mga kasama o kaibigan natin at followers natin sa social media ay talagang mga kaibigan natin in real life. Minsan pa naman, hirap na hirap tayong hindi mag-accept ng friend request. Because, una, we might be offending the other party. Suplado naman ito. Suplado naman ito. Or, sayang pamparami ng friends. Sayang pamparami ng followers because in a world where clout chasing is a norm. Ba, you know what clout chasing is? We're so much after the likes, the comments, and the shares of people. Everybody wants to go viral because that's our only one shot at fame. Ano yung usually na nangyayari? Para mag-viral, mahirap humindi sa ganitong sistema. But you see, this one, oversharing and what it is. You know, there's always that need for us to connect with the people and to share our lives. And it's always good to share. You see, we were created as social beings. And created as social beings, you know that there's always that inherent need for us to connect with people, to fellowship with the people around us. Now, when we talk about oversharing, it is defined here as revealing inappropriate amount of details about your personal life. Again, as I said a while ago, we were created as social beings, and with that, there's always the desire to connect with people. But sharing and oversharing are two different things. I would just like to clarify this because in the setting of the Christian community, meron tayong mga D groups. Right? May mga small groups tayo, may mga mentoring groups tayo. So where do you draw the line between sharing and oversharing? Right. But we will answer that tomorrow because that's for another topic tomorrow. We will be talking about safe spaces. Okay? About mindful conversations and all of it. However, here's one thing that might surprise us about oversharing. And this is not to scare us. In an article in Huffington Post, okay, entitled Oversharing Syndrome, The Truth About Too Much by Andrea Darcy, it was stated that oversharing can be a smokescreen for a serious psychological disorder. You see, in the study that she conducted, she found out that there is a connection between oversharing and anxiety. Oversharing and social anxiety. When we share a lot, in fact, we share too much because we want to fit in. If one, for example, is consciously seeking for her social media friends to like, comment, or share his or her posts, most probably we have an issue of what? Low self-esteem. Mababang pagtingin sa sarili. It can be an unconscious way of trying to prove that one has value. Hiding our low self-esteem. You see, social media, particularly on Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, dito sa platforms na ito, it's very easy for us to vent our outrage. Lalo na kapag galit na galit tayo. You know, sabi ni Darcy, we can all purposely overshare when we are outraged or upset. Pag galit tayo, and we want people to be on our side. And most often, we use these platforms to share, if not overshare, yung mga predicaments natin sa buhay. Yung mga pinagdadaanan natin to the point that it is being used as a calculated tool for attention. Especially when the sharing becomes uncontrollable. You know, in that same article, Darcy explained that we share the same story to whoever will listen. Kahit stranger, basta may papatol, go lang. Basta may makikinig. And we share how bad our life was and who did us wrong. You see, here comes the concept of victim mentality. And the victim mentality means that you are gaining a sense of power by making other people feel sorry for you. Why? Because you are given time. You are given attention, focus. Kaya nag-e-enjoy yung mga taong nag-o-overshare ng mga pinagdadaanan nila sa buhay kasi may pumapansin sa kanila. Dahil may nagbibigay ng panahon, that is when they feel powerful. Kapag may mga pumapansin sa mga sinasabi natin. Kaya minsan, you know, kahit na totoong we are victim of the injustices of the people around us or of the injustices of the world, when we overshare to everyone just about everything about our lives at nagkakalat tayo kahit kanino at kahit saan, kahit na totoong victim tayo, nagmumukha tayong pa-victim. That's what happens. Here, we try to build social connections through what we call as what? Sad fishing. And I believe this concept maybe marami po sa atin ang hindi masyadong nakakaalam nung konsepto ng sad fishing. This was a term coined by a journalist by the name of Rebecca Reed. Ang sabi niya, sad fishing is described as the act of posting emotional or dramatic personal content to gain sympathy or attention online. Listen, people, that does not mean na hindi tayo malungkot or wala tayong pinagdadaanan. But sad fishing is when one over-dramatizes the situation all the more to generate sympathy, to generate attention. Sad fishing indicates that those people who do this are enjoying gaining power doon po sa may sadness nila. They are being empowered in their sadness. Kaya mas gusto nilang maging sad. Or sometimes they fake being sad because it empowers them. And it becomes an identity to them kasi yun ang naging bonding nila ng online following nila. Doon sa mga nagbibigay ng atensyon sa kanila. Take the case of Adele. Hello? Take the case of Adele. You know, si Adele, Nakilala natin siya doon sa mga malulungkot na awitin niya. Tama po, nakarelate ang marami at nakihello ang marami sa kanya. Kaya nung naging masaya na si Adele, yung mga fans niya, they became quite worried. Ang sabi nila, baka hindi na nila makikilala si Adele dahil yung sad songs niya ang naging banding nila ng audience niya. But yung kay Maring Adele, it's a different story, ha? Because it's her bread and butter. Sa ating mga normal na mga mamamayan na hindi kasing taas at hindi natin maaabot ang boses niya, okay, it's a different story. You see, in an article entitled Sad Fishing, The Science Behind Why People Overshare on the Internet by Amy Bicham, she clarified that this does not mean that you did not suffer bad things. Sabi nga niya, dun sa study niya, many of those who have victim mentality indeed had their childhood trauma. But the question here is this, is sad fishing a desperate call for attention or a real cry for help? It could be either. It could be either or it could be both. However, any post of that kind, even if it's a cry for real help, the solution won't be found in oversharing our sentiments online. Baka magmukha pang circus yung mga buhay natin. Remember this. When you are oversharing, you are not facing up the fact that you are an adult now. Mga adults na tayo. And because as adults who were given free will, you have to choose to take responsibility for your own healing. You will not be healed by sharing and oversharing everything online. And healing, as we know, it does not happen overnight. Hindi ho mangyayari yun overnight lang. It does not happen in oversharing our pains with just about everyone. We will not find healing in sharing and in oversharing our troubles sa kahit na kanino lamang po. You see, most often healing comes in those private moments. For us, in our private moments with God, where we can be as honest as we can. Where we can be unfiltered as we can. Where we can be as broken as we are. That is when healing begins. For us Christians, we know where healing comes from. Hindi po doon sa pag-share ng kung ano-ano lamang. Ang nakakalungkot kasi, bago tayo lumapit sa Panginoon, doon muna tayo tumatalak sa lahat ng mga social media platforms na pwede tayong magsalita pare-pareho. We know that healing will not happen there. Healing often comes in those private moments when we are alone with God.